G'day, welcome, Kev. Inside Ball. It's our review of Round 5. What a Round 5, mate. Lots going on.
Well, some upsets too, Dobbo. I reckon 4 or 5 teams that weren't expected to win won. The Dolphins won, for sure. North Queensland beating Penrith.
You picked that.
I did pick that.
You picked Canberra as well.
Yeah, I like the Raiders.
You said Canberra were morals.
Yeah, definitely. So, some terrific games of footy. Headed off on Thursday night. What a game with the Raiders, beating
Cronulla.
the Sharks.
Last minute, Sebastian Chris. Last minute. What did you think? They're always hard to beat in Canberra. It was a pretty good game of football, but I'm more concerned. Canberra get another win, but I'm more worried about the Sharks. I don't know what's going on there at the moment.
Yeah, I think they're a bit busted, the Sharks, and Fitzgibbon alluded to that in his press conference, saying that their training hasn't been of a standard that he's happy with because a lot of players are carrying injuries, even this early in the season, so they're busted. They can't get a decent hit out at training, which then transfers into the game. So they're a bit underdone. That was his words, and they sort of showed that in the game as well. And the Raiders just finished that. Well, it came down to the last play, really.
Yeah.
If they defend that play, which they were entitled to, they win the game. We're not talking about the Sharks, but they didn't. And Sebastian Chris was a magnificent try, and I just like the way they celebrated Ricky. Ricky was going off on the sideline.
Like a bag of feral cats. Let's run through the rest of the results, and it was a pretty big round, and we'll get to the Queensland teams. Cowboys defeated the Panthers 22 points to 18. Rabbitohs, they just keep on flying. Latrell back 20 points to 14. Saturday's game, we'll go back this, 23-22. Eels get their first win. Dolphins get their first win, 36 points to 10 over the Titans. And then, obviously, the Broncos, very good, 46 points to 24. Yesterday, Storm, too good, 48 points to 24. And the Dogs, that game, Kevie, you and I called that game.
Last night, yeah.
Bulldogs 20, Knights 0. Let's get to the Cowboys. That win, and well done, Todd Payton, well done, Cowboys. Jake Clifford, very good again. But how worried should we be about the Panthers?
Yeah, I've got some concerns, and I voiced that through the week. You just can't keep losing players year on year, and quality players, and keep expecting to be up in the top 4 and the like. I still think the Panthers will make the 8 once they get Edwards back, but they're not, and they're not the team that they were. That's clear. This is their worst start to a season since about since Ivan took over. So, and I just think having Cleary back there, Nathan Cleary, was a huge in for the Panthers, but it wasn't quite enough to close the gap. And, the Cowboys were very good as well. It was a gritty win. Their coach said after the game in the press conference, a gritty win by our players. They're not playing at their best either, but they're doing, enough to win. I thought the bench for the Cowboys was the difference in the game when they came on.
Was.
They made a huge difference, all of them. And Tommy did, and he's playing some good football. Robson's back to his origin form that got him selected for New South Wales last year. And Jackson Purdue, we just keep talking about him, don't we?
He's going to be good. And mate, I thought you were on the way. He scored a try, and I'm like, Kevie, this is the bet of the week, but it didn't eventuate. But he was the first leg of the multi.
He got the leg up, mate, in the multi, so we can't blame him. But that was a good performance from the North Queensland boys. They go to Perth now, don't they?
Yeah, it's huge.
That's a big game for them over there. If they can win 3 in a row and get themselves back up somewhere near the top 8, that's a good turnaround for them. They did this a couple of years ago, didn't they?
I don't think they're that same side though, mate. I don't want to go over the top. I've still got some concerns, but defensively for the Panthers, that's been the big thing. They're leaking more points than they've ever leaked before, and that to me, Kev, is what Penrith haven't been good. And you talked about their bench. They had a chance to win it. Eisenhuth went to the line on a 0 tackle and gave away 3 metres out. There's a couple of issues there where I think they go, okay, we could have iced this game, and they just are making uncharacteristic mistakes.
It's so not Penrith what they're doing, and they're not defending well as a group either, which has been the cornerstone of their success, is the way they defend. So they got some work to do, the Panthers. And remember, the Cowboys did it. Reuben Cotter pulled out on the day of the game. He was crook. So that's a big win for them, considering he was out. He's their captain, their leader.
Can we talk about the shot of the round?
Yeah.
Cohen Hess on Nathan Cleary.
Yeah.
How good was it? Like, mate, that is rugby league.
That is rugby league. Well, there's some big hits over the whole weekend, but that one was the bee's knees, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And Cleary didn't see it coming, but Cohen Hess, well, he's known for this. He comes out of the line and just goes whack.
Yeah.
And thankfully, Nathan just got up and he was okay, but it was a huge hit and a big part in the game as well because they were looking to try and get themselves back in the game at that stage, Penrith, and Cohen Hess had other ideas, didn't he?
He certainly did. Look, Uncle Wayne's done it again, 20 points to 14, Roosters. Very good. Latrell back. They've got some injuries, but they're surprising everybody, South Sydney. They're a top 8 side.
They certainly are. They're proving that as well, aren't they? And good to see Latrell back. He looked fit, strong, aggressive. He's always in your face, Latrell.
Mate.
He's a joy to watch. If he's playing for your side, you know,
you want him in your team.
The way he brings his energy in the areas, you know, in defence. It might be a tackle where he just goes up to another level. You know, they lost Humphreys and early in the game with a hamstring.
Then they lost Cody Walker.
At half time. Ravelara went as well. So
so they had some injuries and they got some dramas.
They had to, So that's hard as a coach when you lose 3 players like that, and it affects your interchange. You know, so that means your middle forwards have got to play for longer minutes, which means you know that they get tired, but they hung on really well. It's a sign of a team that's really playing together, you know, for each other. And Jai Gray, how good was he?
He's good, but he's not my cult following now. Can we just talk about him? Rockhampton born and bred, 25-year-old Lachlan Hubner. I mean, everybody talked about Cam Murray got injured. Yeah. Well, bring on Lockie Hubner. Yeah. Like, I mean, 50 games for the Capras. He goes down, he plays 4 games for the Dolphins. And guess what? The Pied Piper Uncle Wayne, off you go. Lockie Hubner leaves the Dolphins. And, mate, look how good he's going. Yeah. I mean, no one in their right mind. Wayne saw something. South Sydney saw something.
Yeah, Wayne, yeah.
And it just shows this Queensland Cup, it develops players. They come on a different... He's 25, Lachlan Hubner. Yeah. And look how he did, mate. He's a ball-playing 13 who was awesome.
Takes the ball to the line really well, squares him up. But I just like his defence, Dobbo. Yeah. He's everywhere. He's got a good hit in him, so he can jolt a ball loose by tackling under the ball, but he just works so hard. I watched him, and he was defending at 3 in for a lot of the time on the right side and just getting through his tackles, and he was absolutely exhausted, but he kept getting up and he kept moving. Yeah. It's really important when you get tired that you just keep moving, and that's what he did. It's great to see the Rocky boy going so well.
CQ, mate, represent Central Queensland. Okay, we'll move on Saturday. You did this game. Well done, Zach Lomax, playing against your former team. Yeah. They get Rylesy, Parramatta, they get their first win. Gritty win. Bigger question marks around the Dragons for me. Like they can't be trusted.
Well, they should have won that game. They had their opportunities to win, but hats off to Lomax. I was at that game working with Fox, and it had a great atmosphere. That's a terrific stadium.
Comback's awesome.
It's a beautiful stadium, just the way it's built. And even the players, as they come onto the field, they run through all the fans.
All the fans, And
there's a bar there. You can have a beer, which I didn't, of course. But there was fans there having a beer, and you could reach out and slap the players.
How good is it?
As they run out. I mean, that's the perfect stadium, isn't it? You know.
Yeah. And Allianz is like that now. Allianz in Sydney is like that.
I've never been to.
So Allianz is like Combank is the baby to Allianz, and they're both the same. So as the players come out, they come through. The Parramatta Eels fans are there, and they're always there. And mate, it's good. It's very, very good.
The Dragons fans were down in that little area as well.
In the borough as well down there. Yeah.
So and I had to walk back there a couple of times going out on the field to do my work at Fox.
Did you get heckled?
Oh, the fans are great. They love it, like, Kevie, how you going, Kevie? Yelling out all sorts of different things.
What about the drums, buddy? Can we talk about your performance at halftime?
Well, I get caught up in the moment,
mate, you got caught up in the moment. You and Lara Pitt are there. It's halftime. The drums are beating the multicultural round. And, Kevie, I thought you were about to break out into a dance. Well, it was unbelievable.
I forgot where I was, Dobbo, but that was just the excitement of it all, mate. And it was a great atmosphere. I think they had nearly 15 or 16,000 there. And it was funny because at one end of the field was all the Dragons fans, and the other end was all the Parramatta. So they kept them apart as best they could. And, of course, Gutherson coming back, first time back at Combank. Yeah. Then you had Lomax, who's a former Dragon now at the Eels. So the crowd got into it. And there was, at one stage, one of the Parramatta, the Dragons fans, did what do they call Gutho? He does his dance, the Gutho dance, whatever they call it.
And they were doing it?
They were doing it. And the Parham fan, mate, he was ropeable.
I bet he was.
He stood up in his chair and he was going to
They're passionate. Oh, please, well done, Zach Lomax, though. He won the game for them.
Well, that was a great
field goal,
wasn't it?
Yeah, awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, he's
amazing.
a very good
And
footballer.
Lomax was in everything. He tried his ass off to keep his team, in the fight. We spoke to Jason Riles before the game, and he seemed pretty confident. Like that, they've been turning things around.
Oh, they
slowly.
got better over the last couple of weeks. Their second half against the Bulldogs, and from there on, they've been very good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Better. I don't think they're a top 8 side, but they are improving.
No, Mitchell Moses comes back. They get him back in the side. They can string some games together. They'll be on the edge of the 8. They'll be very competitive.
They go to Darwin this weekend and they take on the Raiders up there. That'll be interesting. Okay, let's talk about these three Queensland teams played in the next 2 games. Dolphins taking on the Titans. Dolphins get their first win, and I will talk about what's gone on in our big discussion points about what went on with the referees and the shoulder charges and everything, and also Adam Reynolds. So I'm going to get to that, but let's just look at the game.
Yep.
First win for the Dolphins. They blew them off the park.
Well, the 10 in the bin from Tino, that was
but
costly.
that's 10 minutes. He's going to have
Dobbo,
a break. He's going to have a break at some point, Kev.
It's very hard. Yeah, but the 12 men, mate.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's very difficult to play 12 against 13 in the modern. It's as hard as it's ever been because tactically teams are much better than, say, 10 years ago with where they direct their play and how they direct their play.
Yeah.
And also, it's just hard with 12 men. I mean, you could practice it and simulate it at training, but there's nothing like the games. And we saw a lot of sin bins over the weekend, and it was very costly for a lot of teams. You can survive, and some teams do survive, but generally, if you get a man binned, and if the team that's got the 12 men on the field, it's very hard defensively and in attack.
Sure.
To stay in the game, and it does. If it's not that 10-minute period, it comes back and bites you later in the half or later in the game where you've done extra work as 12 against 13. So yeah, it was a tough one. But the Dolphins were much better. I thought they were really good, particularly the way they used the ball. Marshall King and the hammer.
Much improved.
Much improved, and a lot of their attacking play. Well, Hammer's got his first try we got the old fins up.
Yeah, he did that.
So,
Love's a funny thing. Everybody's saying it's love why he hasn't been scoring tries, but he's still very much in love. Him and Jamie Chapman, very
that should be keeping him on the straight and narrow. But he's a try scorer, and how quick is he? Like, he's just glides
unbelievable.
across
No, it was good. It was a good try. Once they
ground.
opened him up, he scored that try from 40 metres out. They weren't going to catch him.
No, and then they kicked away, didn't they? They got to 28-0 at some stage in the second half before the Titans could score a try. So Des was bitterly disappointed after the game.
What about Des?
But Des, he banged on.
Yeah, he banged on. The crowd got ripped off and he was unhappy. And we're going to get to that. That's our big talking points today around the referees.
So they were disappointing, the Titans, weren't they?
I didn't think they were good. They couldn't win 3 in a row. They couldn't
and at
finish 3 in
home
a
as
row.
well. I thought they normally play much better than that, but just goes to show the Dolphins with a pretty desperate side there come up with a really good win.
Well done, Christian Wolf. First win in the NRL as a head coach. You take on Penrith on Thursday night. Another challenge for you. Penrith will be desperate, but they also want to get their season started as well, the Dolphins. Broncos, very good.
Sorry, just on that, Dobbin, I just want to mention Connolly Lumu.
Yep.
He was really good for picked up a try, and they've been missing that punch on the edge.
He made a huge difference. And Josh Kerr, when he came on, he was very good. I like Josh Kerr.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he's
Cult following from us. We're him. So, 46 points to 24 Broncos. They were down 12-6. Bring in the Superman, Adam Reynolds.
Yeah, where's his cape?
14-12 half time. Then Ben Hunt gets and kicks a 40-20 in the second half. Reno does a chip and chase, and she's all over.
Well, that's the game, isn't it?
It's over.
It should have been 18-6 to the Tigers at half time.
They missed every kick.
They missed all their kicks, but then Xavier Willison, he picked up a double. Well done to him. Scored that try, close to the line, just sort of slammed that was a soft try from the Tigers. And then just after half time,
the pet play where he ran out the back and they ran a decoy. Piakura ran a decoy angle and he took it out the back and he was
unstoppable there, wasn't he? Just steamrolling. And Ben Hunt had a big say early in that second half, 40-20.
Yeah.
Reynolds 2-point field goal just on half time to bump. That's deflating.
That's what kills them.
That's deflating. At half time, if you're a Tigers player, and I'm the coach of the Tigers, you've got to try and lift your players, but they're thinking, well, how are we behind? We've scored 3 tries to 1 or 2, and we're behind.
Yeah.
How does that work? Well, it does, because Reynolds bloody kicked that 2-point.
He's awesome.
That's his 4th time he's kicked a 2-point field goal.
Yeah,
he kicked one against us one time when he was playing for South.
How big a difference does he make to a side? Like, I mean, you got him for that reason, but he just
No.
Without him, they are absolutely.
It was the 3 big moments in that game. Was Willison chipping in with those 2 tries, in that period before halftime and after time. The Reynolds chip and chase. That was amazing. That was an amazing try from Reno. And then has he done his hamstring?
He's getting scans today, and I don't think he'll play against the Roosters on Friday night.
Right.
I don't think he will, and we will talk about that. But he's certainly done something. Like
for him to go off.
He felt it in the first half.
Right.
He scored that try. It was tight. He was on the bike at the end, but yeah. Are you worried about the 24 points that they had scored against them?
Oh, well, that's never great. But at this time of the year, first 6, 7, 8 rounds, it's just you got to log your wins in.
Yep.
Put them in the bank.
Yeah.
And that's what there's 4 or 5 teams there now with 3 or 4 wins, 5 wins,
for the Dogs.
For the Bulldogs, who are sitting on top. But the Broncos, and the other one was Benny Hunt with that 40-20. That's a big play early in the second half. And then if the Broncos get close to the line, they got threats everywhere.
No, they are stacked.
They can score tries.
They are stacked. There's no question about
Billy
it.
Walters, what a great try from Billy Walters.
We'll get to the forward pass. So, mate, I mean, Billy.
That was
Kev,
a forward.
Can we just talk about this? That was as forward as there's ever been from Cobbo. And you know what? In a typical Walters fashion, he sold it so well. He just took it on stride.
Yeah.
And it looked like. But we can all say
that's
now.
something we've practiced in the backyard, Dobbo. If you throw a forward pass, just keep running.
Going.
He
never even blinked. It was like he took it and I'm like, oh, Billy sold this beautifully.
Yeah.
That was as forward as they come. But,
yeah.
I mean, I don't want to get into the referees missing that. But well done, Billy Walters. We are a huge fan of him here. Okay, Sunday, Melbourne Storm. Never take Melbourne on after a loss and a bye. And Manly, they copped it. They absolutely got the wrath. They were brilliant yesterday, the Storm.
Yeah, was that Triple M where they keep the stat with 32 points after that minimum points they score
after a loss?
32.
It's 32 points.
Wow, what a record.
And they went on with it, didn't they?
Oh, they did. Yeah, the spine of the Storm really took control. It was two periods, wasn't it? 2 like 5 or 6 minute periods. One in the first half and one in the second half. And that first half, Munster, the Cameron Munster show, he just destroyed the Manly defence. And then Jerome Hughes, well, hats off to him. He had surgery 2 weeks ago on his hand.
Yeah.
They've opened him up and he's back playing. How tough is he?
He makes a difference, doesn't he?
And just the way he leads that team around. Munster is such a better player when Hughes is in the side, and they look so much a better team. And obviously the stats reflect that as well. When Hughes is in, they're a 10 or 12 point better side, according to the stats. And they showed that yesterday. And Manly, listening to Seibold after the game, Anthony Seibold, he was pretty disappointed. He felt the game wasn't played to a standard that Manly can play to, which I agree. The line breaks was interesting. They were, I think it was 7 or 9 each, and the Storm converted their line breaks, and Manly just, they still scored some points, but not good enough on the day to knock off, I think, the competition favourites for mine.
I was just about to ask you that. I know Bulldogs are sitting undefeated, but to me, after the round of 5, I look at Melbourne, and they to me, it's like not daylight, but that's the benchmark at the moment.
Now, I'll give you a Kevie Walters super stat. All right, we've got to find a sponsor for this.
Kevie Walters super stat.
Right, the best defensive team in the year makes the grand final.
Right, so that's it.
I'm going to say normal. There'll be a very high percentage. The best defensive team makes it to the grand final.
Right.
They don't always win it,
but they make it. It's a hard thing to.
So right now, the Bulldogs are the best defensive team with 14.3 points on average per game against them. So if they continue on that, we're 5 rounds in, so that's a pretty good judge, although they haven't played the Storm yet. They haven't played the Broncos yet. They haven't played some of these better teams.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's just hold our ink on the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
They take on South on Good Friday. They got the bye.
That's a massive game.
That's a huge test, and that will give us something. Okay. Did the DCE thing, the DCE drama, has it played a role?
Did you see the press conference after the game? It just looked a bit prickly between Anthony Seibold, not prickly, but and you know,
Just a
I
bit
know
of
they
distance.
lost,
Yeah.
but you know, DCE was sitting there, and there's a lot on his plate, isn't there, at the moment? There must be a lot going through his mind on where he's at and what's going to happen. Has there been any more developments?
No, nothing
over
yet.
the week.
No, nothing
I
yet.
read somewhere where there's some emails.
Well, it's a he said, she says cat fight at the moment, and Manly believe that they're in the right. Daly believes he's in the right.
His camp believe they're in the right. Yeah.
And where the truth lies, no one really knows.
Well,
I feel that Manly are in the wrong here.
Right.
I genuinely do, and I trust the people that I talk to about it. But either way, it's got to be having some sort of effect. Last game of the round, Dogs are having a party, 20-0 over Newcastle. Score's not reflective, in my opinion, Kevy. They lost Saifidi after 3 minutes. They lost James Schiller after 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Mate, they were down, and I think, but you know what? The Dogs, they can get it done.
Yeah, they're playing some good footy as a group, as we mentioned last week. But yeah, the Knights were a bit. They had the right plan early, but they didn't stick with it. You know, maybe because of those injuries, those two players that went off, and that again creates a big shuffle among your players. So you know, the Bulldogs just continue to win. They've been really good defensively, very good. Hard to break down the Bulldogs, but there is a plan there. If someone can get onto it and execute it for the full 80 minutes, they'll give themselves a chance. But remember, too, the Bulldogs are doing this without two of their best.
No kick out, no Burton at the moment.
So it's been a very impressive performance. Well, let's judge them in a couple of weeks. They got the Broncos in round 8, I think.
Yeah, they've got South and the Broncos.
South Broncos. So that's and South are moving along nicely. They'll be in the 8 somewhere when the whips are cracking. And the Broncos, certainly, they're in the top 2 or 3 teams, you know, in the competition, given their talent. So,
all right.
And the Broncos haven't rolled out Ezra. He's still parked in the garage. He's up on.
Well, I'm going to get to what's going to happen with him. Okay.
Ezra, man.
The competition ladder, let's put it up there and have a look at it. Bulldogs leading. They're at the top, along with Brisbane second, Storm third, Warriors fourth. Raiders.
So that's your top 4. That's a good top 4.
Bulldogs, Broncos, Storm, Warriors. And then the bottom of the 8, Rabbitohs, Sea Eagles, Raiders, Titans. Titans remain in the 8.
So we've got 2 Queensland clubs.
2 Queensland clubs in there. So that's not a bad 8. Okay, let's get to the big talking points of round 5. 7 sin binnings, plenty of players on reports, crackdowns on high shots. You like it, love it, or do you hate it?
No, I don't like it. I don't like it at all, Dobbo. But I understand where the NRL are coming from, protecting players and particularly the HIAs. But they've got to have an emergency meeting and work out a solution to this. Because
You don't think players should be sin binned?
depending on how hard they hit.
Well, it's all on force. That's what they're saying.
The force is the big word that everyone's using, right? So, yeah, but it's just so tough to adjudicate on for the referee. I know they got the bunker in their ear telling them, but you know, some get sin binned. You know, we saw Tino, we saw Ray Stone get sin binned from the Dolphins, and then others are allowed to stay on the field. It's hard for me to work out, and I think I'm a pretty smart man, Dobbo, when it comes to most things, and rugby league in particular. But I'm confused, and a lot of the coaches are confused as well. Des Hasler, Ricky Stewart, Wayne Bennett, among others.
Yeah, Benji
Marshall. They just don't know what the rules are anymore, you know. And to be fair, the coaches are the main problem here because some coaches, not all, some coaches manipulate the rules to get an advantage, right? Now, they did trial in the pre-season. If the offending player hits someone high with force and that player that he hit has to go off for a HIA, sin bin.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
That would be fine, but the coaches would manipulate that.
Yeah, because you say players would just lay down.
Lay down.
Yeah.
Right, you got to come off. They get a 10-minute...
Free interchange and they lose a player.
Particularly if it's a middle forward.
Yeah. Okay, that doesn't work. I'll retract that. It doesn't work.
No,
I don't know what the answer is.
It could work. That's the only solution.
Yeah, but the coaches won't. Not every coach. Coaches will manipulate that.
Well, if someone's got to go off and they come back on, that interchange it's not a free interchange, right?
Yeah.
Once they come back on. So I reckon that's probably the best avenue to go down. You know, if he gets HI8, well, you go to the sin bin, mate. You can go and have a spell. That's probably the fairest way we can do it. At the moment, unless someone else out there What about some of our listeners? Have they got a solution for this? Because you'd hate to think that in a grand final
State of Origin is
State of Origin, that's different. They just throw the rules out. State of Origin, so don't worry about that. That's refereed differently. In a grand final, we could end up with let's say 10 men on the field.
We don't want to see that. Well, I agree with you. We don't want to see it. We just don't want to see it.
Because the way that these players, like their body shape and how physical they are, the contact, they're meant to be aggressive. And sometimes players get themselves, if you're carrying the ball, you can slip and fall, and then automatically it becomes a defender's problem to try and change his tackle technique in that moment. It's very hard. Very hard to do.
I agree. Okay. I don't know what the answer is, but they are meeting today, the NRL. Okay, Adam Reynolds' hamstring injury. That's the big talking point for the Broncos.
And where's he going to play next year, Dobbo?
Well, I don't know. So obviously he wants to go on and play. So what we know from Adam Reynolds is that although he signed an extension, Brisbane haven't factored in the fact that he was going to continue. They thought he might retire. He's got a autobiography out at the end of the year. All roads point. But he's only 36 and his body's in good nick. And he wants to keep on playing. And to be honest with you, he's in the top 5 halfbacks in the game.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, what he did the other night for the Broncos, and it's not just against the Tigers, all year.
Yeah.
His kicking game.
Yeah.
He's leading the race for the tries from kicks. He's put more little short grubbers, little chip overs to score more tries than any other player in the competition. So, and he's always been that player. That's part of his skill set. And that chip and chase, don't you love that stuff? Try the other night, that was amazing. And I read somewhere that he knew Buller was a fullback that defended deep in the line.
Yeah,
he was back a bit, so a little tinky over, and the bounce he got. It's like, you talk to the ball, clap, clap.
He knows how to do it. But he knows how to do it better than anybody.
Yeah. So what's going to happen there, Dobbo? He won't be at the Broncos, obviously. Can't be.
Well, you would think that he's going to go to the Super League. I don't think he'll stay in the NRL.
Right.
I think his legacy's at Brisbane. He loves Brisbane, and unless Brisbane can sign him and find a way,
well, how does that happen then? I can tell you, it doesn't happen. Or it does happen.
Other players have to go.
They're going to have to sell 2 or 3 players.
Yeah. Well, so you can't keep everybody, can you?
No, you can't. So Selwyn Cobbo's hasn't been done yet, has he? Ben Hunt's signed for next year. So a few of those hookers, I'd be looking.
Well, they want to keep Pakes.
Yeah, and
Moses re-signed. Billy signed. Smoothie's going to Super League. Bukowski's obviously on a Devilish contract. So
I went and watched him play yesterday.
He's going good.
Yeah.
He's going good. He's going to be sought after by a lot of clubs. But, I mean, I suppose it is about what happens with Bill. What happens,
someone's going to have to be bumped, regardless, because they haven't re-signed Cobbo yet. So,
will Cobbo take less to stay?
Well, he can take less, but he's got a value. At the moment, I'm not going to divulge what he's on, but he's. I
reckon he's on somewhere between $450 and $550, somewhere around that money.
Right.
Okay?
Let's say that's true. So he can't accept anything less than that.
Okay. So if you're the Dolphins or the Cowboys or the Titans, I don't think he wants to leave Queensland. That's
right.
I'm looking at trying to fit because he's a talent. But I don't think Brisbane will be able to keep him.
No, but it's not just. There's 2 or 3 other ones.
Corey Jensen, Pakes, Kobe Hetherington.
Xavier Willison's going to have to be re-signed.
Well, he's just got a contract for a couple of years, so he's right.
And his value, I know,
is going to go up.
It has gone up. So if it goes up there with one player, someone else has got to take a skim, take a cut.
So I don't know how Brisbane are going to do it. I really don't. I really don't know how they're going to be able to do it. But
really, their roster is stacked, isn't it?
Very stacked. They need to win a comp. Interesting to see. We'll know a bit more about Reno. Who comes in? Jock Madden was very good yesterday for Wynnum. They tell me that
9 from 9.
They tell me they took him off early. So is there that mindset we keep Hunt at 6, we just put Jock Madden in there just to fill in, keep Billy at 14 just to keep the flow of it right?
That's he's got some decisions to make there.
What do you think's going to happen?
I think he'll put
Bill at 6.
Billy at 6, and then bring in maybe Moser on the bench.
Yeah.
For coverage.
Yep. Give him a shot.
Or the other option, he put Madden at 7 and keep it as is. That'd be the least amount of changes.
Well, they've got some changes on the edges as well because Piakura's gone for 2 weeks suspended, and he's got HIA. Ricky's suspended.
Ricky the grub.
Ricky's suspended. So that looks like Jaden Hunt and Jack Ajeski will be your edges.
Yeah. So
Jesus,
that's okay.
They're good footballers, but I mean, it's Ricky and Piakura. It's not Ricky and Piakura.
No, Piakura has he's got amazing talent, hasn't he? Very aggressive. That hit that he put on May, he got sin bid for it, but he's always been a very strong tackler. Like he puts everything into it. We saw it last week against the Dolphins. He cleaned up Herbie. Like he's not a big heavyweight sort of person, but he hits a lot like I used to, Dobbo. If you go back through the reels, I'm sure Darcy will find somewhere for us where I'm actually making a tackle somewhere. You'll be looking a long time to find a hit like that.
Yeah, you're true.
You probably won't actually, Darcy. Don't waste your time, mate. But do you know what I mean with Piakura, though?
Yeah.
He just brings that whack on the edge.
Very good.
Which you need, and he's not a big sort of back rower, but his timing is really good. Like Gilmeister. Like Gilly wasn't a big person, but Gilly used to snap him in half, and he's a similar defender.
All right, let's lighten it up a little bit. Winger watch. Now, the wingers, we've got to say, and we have got a candidate this week. Now, a lot of the wingers, they were shaking in their bones because they knew we were going to identify them. Yeah, okay.
Well, but they did pass this week.
They did very well, a lot of them. Some
other areas where they let themselves down.
Greg Marju from the Newcastle Knights, I have to say.
He had a tough night out.
Yeah, that is like, and we love him, and we heard Flegg say on Inside Ball, he was one of the hardest men.
Yep.
But I think he'd like his night back. I think against the Dogs, they peppered him.
Well, he would, but he didn't get much help, mate.
Because, come on.
No, I'm telling you, Dobbo, this is the procedure. When a kick goes up, right, it's the work of the winger, yeah, sure, to catch it.
You got to catch the ball.
Your centre has got to get back and escort. Your halfback has got to get back and escort. And your fullback's got to come around and protect as well. Now, they left him stranded a few times, the Knights. He was all on his own. It gets pretty lonely out there as a winger when you feel isolated. And he got isolated 4 or 5 times.
I'm not sharing. Winger of the week. He's our first ever induction. Winger of the week. It's going to Greg Marju. You've got to agree.
It's a tough night out for you.
It was a very tough night out.
Sorry, Greg.
But you are our winger of the week on Inside Ball. And every week we'll have a nomination. You'll all get a turn, trust me, because they all have a day of rocks.
Wing is the hardest position in the game to play. One for those kicks. It is, Dobbo.
You're saying winger is the hardest position to play?
Well, from a technical point of view, yes.
Yeah, well.
With those kicks.
Greggy, get back.
Now, I remember Wendell Saylor had some trouble catching the high balls. He dropped 3 in a State of Origin one year. I think it might have been 98 in the first game. And him and Adam McDougall used to just butt heads all the time.
Sure.
Aggressive, like run at each other, try and run over the top. And this one Wendell he had a bad night out, another tough night.
Yeah.
So all week he's practicing catching him for the next Origin, catching, and he came out the next week and was the man of the match.
Well, Greg, we believe in you. Have a big week, mate, in Newcastle or Steel City. But you are our winger watch and our winger of the week for Inside Ball.
I'm pleased you're saying that, not me, Dobbo.
And I actually like you.
Were
as
there
a
any
bloke.
other nominations? Did we have?
No, there wasn't. No, it was a pretty good week. It was a pretty good week with the wingers overall. They actually did a lot of brilliant things. But Greggy, you saved the best for last, mate.
Anderson he picked up 3 tries.
Yeah, he was good as well. And Jesse Arthurs was very good. Selwyn was good. There was a lot of great results from the wingers.
Jermaine Asako was unbelievable. Picked up a try and kicked 1,000 goals again.
So winger watch there, our first induction. Okay, cooking for the week. Kev's cooking. Now, how did Sunday? Because I don't know if you would have got a feed for the family. So what happened?
No, tonight's going to be the night. Chicken curry tonight. Just a slight change in weather, a little bit cooler. I noticed that this morning when I was up going for a run. Up exercising.
Monday night, the night, because you had to call footy, you got the Monday night family night.
Yeah, I've had to put the Sunday roast traditional.
Gone.
Well, that 6:15 game caught me unawares, Dobbo. It's hard to cook a roast when you got to. So what you got chicken?
Well, we'll save it for Thursday. We'll save your recipe for Thursday because in your preparation.
It's a very simple one though, because I'm a very simple person.
Right.
And anyone can cook this chicken curry and the next day.
Comes back as a leftover.
How good is a curry when it just overnight in the fridge, the flavours drift through each other and it's beautiful, mate.
Yeah.
It's probably better next day on toast.
Is that right?
I think
on
so.
toast?
On toast, yeah, gravy on
Rice
toast.
in it as well?
No rice, just the
meat and curry.
Yeah.
All right.
Have you tried that?
No.
Right, I'm going to bring some in next week for you.
Well, mate,
All
you
right?
know what? You offended me last night, and I'll say this to everybody. We called the game with Ben Teo, right? He says to Ben Teo, mate, you should come over for dinner one night. Ben's like, yeah, that's great. I don't know how many years I've been working with you. I reckon 2013 we first worked together.
Yeah.
I've
Was
never
that
once been.
2013?
I've had to work as a slave labourer at your place to do a fence. Me and
right,
Gordy.
the fence. I remember that.
Me, Steve Kearney and Gordy.
Didn't I pay you for that?
No,
Oh.
never. We
Checks
never got
in the
paid
mail.
for that, and I can show you there was sweat coming out of me like a proverbial that day.
You're on the barrow.
I was on the wheelbarrow. I still got photos of it. It was horrific. Never once have I been invited for
well, I
dinner.
can book
No,
you.
I don't want it, mate.
No.
But Ben Teo got an invite last night just as a throwaway line. It was a token of, you can come for dinner. No, but never.
But I thought Ben, I didn't think he was
He doesn't
too
cook.
enthusiastic about it.
Well,
either.
he
Yeah,
was
okay,
like,
whatever. But
we can do that.
He doesn't cook. So, Teo, you start listening to the potty.
Yeah.
I'll give you some recipes.
It wasn't very
easy, mate.
You know when you invite somebody and you know they don't have the courage to say no. Teo was like, I'm not going to dinner, but he was saying, oh, that'd be good.
Yeah,
that'd be good, mate. That'd be good.
We'll never see him at my place. for
Never.
dinner.
He will never go there. All right. Look, this is a couple of questions for Kev off the back of what has been a huge round. And Kev, the couple of things we've got to get through. It feels like, and this is Zaza 54377. Thank you for your questions. I feel like the short dropout is a silly option since it hardly ever works. What do you think?
Well, the ratio is about 30% return on drop kicks. So sometimes to me it feels like a lot more. I think last year the Roosters were the best at it because they got some tall timber on the wings. But it's mate, you're rolling the dice.
Yeah.
Basically, because it is very hard to drop a ball and then kick it with great accuracy.
Yeah.
So, and we saw over the weekend, which game was it? It was Latrell Mitchell. One of his kicks looped back around and ended up on the try line.
Yeah.
You know, and then we see one dropout. There's a penalty because it was uncontestable. The referee, it went out on the full, but the referee ruled it was uncontestable, so it's a penalty. So again, the rules on this, just scrap it.
Yeah.
Right, if you kick the ball out on the full, that's a penalty. You should be skillful enough. If you don't kick the ball 10 metres, that's a penalty. You know, it costs.
I just don't like it. Go deep.
Go deep.
Get them back. It's all about possession. Get them
messy.
back. Yeah.
And I'll go back to that 2023 grand final. The Panthers scored a try off a short dropout.
Well,
we kicked.
Blame
Reno put it up.
Blame Reno. You can blame
It wasn't
Reno.
Reno, but
Reno
it's just-
put one out in the full.
Well, he did that.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm not blaming Reno,
I'm not either am I. Anyway, what changes should be in
Kick
the
'em
starting
long.
side? Yeah.
Kick them long and be safe.
What changes should be to the starting side if Reynolds isn't available for the
Well, they got
Roosters?
two options, haven't they? Move Billy to 6.
Yeah.
And Hunt goes to 7.
7, yeah.
Or they bring Jock Madden in and put him straight in the 7. I think that would be the way probably to go. Ben Hunt's been going great in the 6 jersey, and Jock's a good player. He's a good player. It would be good to give him an opportunity, I would have thought. But they got options, the Broncos, because their depth is good in those positions.
Yep. Praz Krishimina, would you ever coach a New South Wales based side?
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
Doesn't bother you?
Doesn't bother me, no.
You go to New South Wales to coach an NRL team?
I would, definitely.
Yeah, right. That's all that needs to be said there. I thought that would be the case. What do you think of the Panthers losing 4 times in a row? And can they, and we address this, can they get out of this rut? They play the Dolphins on Thursday night. Thank you to Jardine.
Yeah, Jardine, I'm concerned about the Panthers. I don't think they can make the top 4. I think they can make the top 8, and then it's anybody's guess where they can go from there. But with the injuries they've had, they've got to get through Origin yet, and those 2 players, Edwards and Cleary and Martin,
and Yo and To'o,
they'll all be playing
They'll all
Origin.
be playing Origin.
And
Lindsay Smith will be playing Origin as well. They could lose
Lindsay
6.
Smith.
Lindsay Smith. Well, he played for Australia at the end of last year.
Yeah, okay.
You'd think he'd be in that side.
Somewhere.
Yeah,
He will play a role there at some stage.
Yeah, so they could lose 6 out of their side. Yeah. That's a huge void, and that's with Origin coming. So
I don't think they get too many buys through that period either, where their players are, they get a rest and they're available. But so it's tough times ahead for the Panthers. But look, they're a tough side, a tough club. They're well coached. I think they can bounce back, but how high can they bounce, Dobbo?
They won 4 comps.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
exactly.
Okay, do you think the Broncos can win the comp this year?
Yeah, I do. Of course I do. I thought they could have won it last year and the year before. They've got a great roster. Their depth in key positions is really good. Hookers, halves, fullback. If Walshy goes down, they got Selwyn Cobbo.
Yeah.
Park there ready to go.
Yeah.
And that young Latrell Seagull,
right, yeah.
he's going pretty good too at cup level. So they got good depth. And in their forwards as well, like they got depth across the pack. So I would expect them, and I believe they can win the premiership 100%.
Yeah, I think you're right as well. Yeah, I do. Hey, we got a huge guest on Wednesday when our podcast drops, special guest. Can't wait to share that with you on Inside Ball. And look, on Thursday, and the preview, we'll go through a lot. Keep your questions coming, and please make sure if you see anything, we want any questions you want. We're interested. We want to answer them. Kevie wants to answer them on Inside Ball.
Yeah, we're a bit unlucky with our tip too, weren't we, last week with the 4-time try scorer. We got the first leg up.
Yep.
With Jackson Purdue. We got the second leg up with AJ Brimson.
Yes.
Right. Herbie let us down. Herbie Farnworth. Score a try, please, Herbie. Come on, mate. Lift your game.
It was close.
And we didn't get the fourth leg up either, Brendan Piakura, but he got sin bid. So
that put him out.
Reynolds was chipping for himself, not his
Reno,
we've got to tell you about this as well. Kick for Brendan, mate.
Yeah. Well, we'll have a new one on Thursday as well. Go to our social medias, please.
That's just a bit of fun, Dobbo.
Yeah, give us a subscribe, give us a like, and make sure you can tell a friend. If you can just share it with one mate. I shared it with one mate this week. I know you shared it with a mate. If you like it, just share our podcast with one friend. Week by week, that's all we're doing.
Got the whole family involved, mate. Share this, share this.
Keep on going.
So Brett, Stephen, Kerrod, Andrew, share it, brother.
Yeah, there you go. We'll see you again on Thursday. Remember to look out Wednesday. Our special guest will be dropping. It's an awesome chat. I can't wait for you to share it with you. That's us from Inside Ball. Round 5 in the bin. We'll see you next time.